This episode of the Wrong Advice podcast is powered by Harlowe, the only woman-owned lighting brand for photographers, videographers, filmmakers, and content creators. Designed for those who push creative boundaries, Harlowe lights are compact, powerful, and built to inspire. Harlowe creates tools that stand the test of time, crafted for those who see light as an art form. Harlowe believes that your light can be bold, powerful, and beautiful, and that it deserves to be seen. Visit Harlowe online at www.harlowe.com or follow them on Instagram at Harlowe Creators. Welcome back to the Wrong Advice podcast. I'm your host, John Picciuto, and I'm very excited to have my new friend, the one and only Mr. Andrew Vanwickler, in with us today in studio. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
Can you give a quick introduction to the listeners to who you are?
Sure. So I'm Andrew Vanwickler. I am a photographer, filmmaker, an artist. I've worked as a creative director and visual content director for Disney and ABC for a long time, ESPN for a while, and now I'm just kind of branching off into just photography and whatever else the world brings my way.
Awesome. So let's start, early on in the chapter. Did you always have an affinity and a passion for photography?
So it really started more in filmmaking. I always wanted to be like a film director since I was little. I liked movies. I think my first video camera was in middle school or something, and I just started shooting a little
JVC?
bit. It was that, or it was like a JVC or Sony or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I kind of came up. I'd gotten Photoshop in sixth grade.
Oh wow!
My dad's friend had it, and he installed it for me legally because that's how you did it back then.
Yeah.
He had a license that he owned and he bought just for me.
Yeah.
In case anybody from Adobe's listening.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had that and I just started playing around with it and I got pretty good at that stuff. And then a few years later, Adobe Premiere came out. So when I was in high school and I decided I was going to start making movies there, I was the first person who had Adobe Premiere and could digitize my stuff because we were using tape decks at the time.
Yeah.
It's you're shooting on a VHS at
mini
school.
tapes?
No, we were shooting on VHS tapes, literal VHS tapes. I had my personal one were the mini tapes, but at school they had the broadcast camera tapes or whatever. So I'm shooting on that and we have two in the tape deck and a VCR and you're hitting the buttons with the controller and stuff, which was rad or whatever. But you couldn't do things like slow motion or fast motion without turning the dial and you'd get the scan lines. It would look so garbage, but we'd try to do it because it was that's right around when the Matrix and stuff came out. Yeah. And you wanted to do these cool effects of going around people, and oddly enough, the guy who did the visual effects for the Matrix went to my high school.
No way, that's crazy.
I'm actually I was friends with his brother growing up, but. Anyway, so I was really into all that stuff. So I was the first person to do that and digitize it and then bring it in there in my school because it was kind of early for that. This late 90s.
Yeah.
And so I just mess around with that stuff. My photography kind of came as obviously cinematography for that stuff, but also I would take out a still camera and shoot to do what my storyboards would be.
Oh, okay.
So the camera was always when I'm going to locations, I'm scouting, I'm shooting that, I'm looking at it in so part of it is if you've taken a lot of look at my photography, it's I generally am telling a story in the photograph. I light it more cinematically. Rarely use flash. I generally use continuous lights, and I light a scene because I came from that sort of background of it, and it's everything is there for a purpose. It's telling the story of that or whatever. So so the photography was always this underlying aspect of it, but no, I didn't I never imagined myself being a photographer or having a following as a photographer. I always thought cinematographer, director, or something like that. And then as I went along, I became more into design and stuff. And then I was focusing on my posters and visual effects and all that. And then somewhere along the way, kind of put them all together. So that's good.
What was it the first time you were able to marry the passion of filmmaking and cinematography and photography into a career? When the first time you married it, and you're oh, I got paid to do this. Whoa, this could be a job.
Yeah, it was weird because forever people were oh, you're so talented. They loved my short films and stuff in high school, and a lot of people would encourage me to do it. But then they'd be yeah, that's not a career though. You can't do that. Yeah. Which I think to an extent it's not. It is. It totally is. People do it.
Yes, but there are Oscar-winning
being
shorts.
Chris Nolan like made his shoestring budget on like The Following and Kevin Smith with Clerks and whatever. But like I didn't want to max out my credit card and like not have a place to live and probably fail because like you can mention those two guys, but there's also like 10 billion others that tried the same thing and are like living on streets now. So I didn't have the appetite for that, but and I was kind of like people would really push me because I was like really good at fixing computers, doing stuff like that. So they're like, oh, go into the tech world, do that, like security or cybersecurity or something like that. There's big jobs and money in that or whatever. And then somewhere along the way, I decided I was going to go to NYU and try it. And at NYU, like I actually didn't go undergrad. I just like took classes. And I was going to matriculate in to be an undergrad student, but I had a professor there that I was like, oh, can you write me a recommendation? Because I figured like one of their professors writes you a recommendation, you've taken classes, you'll get in. Like you're pretty good at it. And he's like, I can do that and I can help you get in, but why? And I'm like, well, because like I want to be a filmmaker and do this. And he's like, yeah, but being a filmmaker is about making films. It's like you're already doing this stuff. You're learning here, and you're in classes with people who are paying for them, not people who just want to go like party after or whatever. So this is like the best way to learn it. You just take what you need and then go and get a job. He's like, if you go down the path of like just taking school, like film classes or whatever, when people see like your resume and they're on film, they're like, I think you just want to make Battleship Potemkin all the time. And it's like, that's not what anyone commercially wants. Yeah. Like they don't want art films. So like they see film student and they throw out your resume. And I'm like, okay, so like
first dose of reality.
Yeah, that was like the first of that, and so I just kind of kept taking classes, got into doing some visual effects there because I'd always like I said I made like freeze frames in my high school movies and stuff. So got into that. I thought about animation. I was doing like 3D animations and stuff, and somewhere along the way I was like, oh, I'm good at opening titles. So then that tipped me off of like motion graphics as a thing. And then I started finding work on doing like opening titles for other people. They'd pay me a little bit of money or whatever. And then I got a job at a local news station doing it like daily or whatever. And they actually like paid me for it. Weirdly, I had a bigger experience before that though, because I worked at a post house, Imaginary Forces, which was run by Kyle Cooper, who did the opening titles for the movie Seven. Oh, wow. So that was like huge to me. I had like a paycheck written, like signed by Kyle Cooper, and like I didn't want to cash it because I'm like, it had his name on it. And I was like, this guy's like a hero to me. Like he made the coolest opening titles sequence ever. And I worked on this, it was an Olympus camera commercial with a group of people or whatever. And like part of the scene that I had worked on became a billboard in Times Square. And I'm just finishing college at that time. And like I'm walking in Times Square because I'm going to school in the city. And it's like something that I worked on is on a billboard there. Yeah, wow. And then I go into a movie and the commercial plays before the movie in a movie theater. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy to have happened like as I think it was 23 at the time or whatever. And you're like getting paid there. So it's like, it felt surreal like to do that. But then it took probably another like year to really get settled and like actually get like consistent work. Mm-hmm. But then 16 straight years of, or 17 years at that time of consistent work. So
that's pretty remarkable. I'm honestly not very sure if many people have like stumbled into their like love job wise like that quickly. I'm sure there are people who get that lucky. Like for me, it took 15 years or whatever post college to figure out like what the fuck I want to do with my life, and it's.
Yeah, I don't want to say it was easy because it's like because like that like it was like I got that gig and like that gig came from a professor I had because he was like, oh, you're really good, we need people on this, and he brought me on for it. So like the fact that I'd worked hard and did that, it was like cool, that was great. But like after that, it was like, yeah, I'm getting a couple like little gigs here or there, but it was like I was still living with my parents. I wasn't like able to afford rent. It was like that one paid like pretty well, and I was able to like have a little down payment on the car that I was driving at the time. But like getting an actual consistent job after that did take over a year. Okay, and it
was also not the best economy in the world when that was happening. So totally understandable.
Yeah, that was right around like the 08, right around that time period. So. And then after I got the first job, that was like freelancing for like 4 or 5 months. And then that was slow for another several months until I got the job at ABC. And then that was consistent for 16 years.
Right. I'm curious. So like one of the parts where I'm struggling right now with my own creativity and like my own work is like trying to marry the financial success with like the creative, I guess, boundaries that come along with like who wants to pay you kind of
Sure.
thing. Obviously, doing an in-house job for a big organization like ABC, NBC, ABC, I forgot.
ABC, yeah.
Being a Disney employee, et cetera, is like comes with a lot of like red tape.
Yes, of course.
Did it ever feel that way? Did it ever feel like you were like constrained to a box and like
Yes,
working in a big org? Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
always. And I worked for ESPN in that time period too. So I moved around Disney a lot, and it was always like you're making something for somebody else there. I never really considered that stuff to be too much like my art. Like it was more of a job to me. I liked it. I was definitely like I thought I made some cool stuff there, but I never. It was never like the same as my photography or my filmmaking or anything like that. Like those are my art, and I struggle the same as you. It's like I don't actually like. I really don't generally take paid gigs on photography and stuff because like I don't want somebody else to tell me how to do it. For me, it's like there's a lot of like mental health aspect in my photography too, where it's like I don't want somebody to tell me how to be creative. Like I shoot the way I shoot. It's like if you want to hire me out to shoot something and like just do me, then great. Like sure, I'm not going to say no to money, right?
Totally.
But I would I more tend to more approach it as like I will do it, and then if you want to buy it afterwards, then cool. But I
like that approach.
Go in with that. It's
everything. I like that approach. I never thought about approaching it that way. That's interesting. Over the 16 years that you were there, did the job ever pull from your own creativity, your own? I'm sure obviously it takes away from the time, from the ability to like work on your own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's there was a long period where I just didn't really do any art whatsoever. I just like the job was busy, and I think I kind of like fell out of it. I got more into music at a time period there. Like I'd play a lot of guitar and stuff, and like that was kind of my art. But I would say for at least like 10 years, really wasn't like I'd shoot with an iPhone, not really do any kind of video or whatever. I would take some photographs on there, but it wasn't like that good. It wasn't until the last couple of years that I really picked back up into photography and was like, I'm going to go back into this. I needed the art to come to me because like it was really when I was going through a divorce that I was like, I needed to get a camera and like do something. So I was like, I just had to change my perspective. And so I went out, bought a Leica, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because I felt like if I didn't, like I didn't, like I couldn't like survive. So
it's funny, not funny, but I can relate to that tremendously because similarly, like I found photography when I lost my job during the pandemic, and when like seemingly I had nothing, right? Like I had no job. The prospect of having another job seemed impossible. It was smack in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
I found something that like inspired me to keep going, and like in a lot of ways, I've said this many times on this podcast, like photography saved my life, and it's like one of those things where I didn't even know that it was gonna be something for me. It's just like I got a severance, I bought a camera, and I went on a road trip. Right. Obviously going through a big life change like a divorce, similarly did that new rekindling of like that love for photography kind of save you through that process?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It's like literally I've probably said the same sentence of like photography saved my life. Like and now like leaving ABC, it's like it's the photography is there. It's like because I have that, I feel like there's something. At the time when like I went through a divorce after a 10-year relationship and 4 years of marriage, I was like, I didn't really feel like I had much. It was like you're together as like a united couple for so long, like lived together for 9+ years. It just like you felt lost. So then like when the Flash started to like losing the ABC downsizing and getting rid of my department, I still had the photography to fall back on. So like there was something there. It didn't feel as like painful of a loss, even though like I was in that job for 16 years or, jobs there for 16 years. It felt so much less because I had this other thing.
Do you think at like a certain age you become accustomed to like the loss of something? Because like I found maybe some sort of like lessening of the wins and lessening of the losses. So like the blows don't hurt as bad when you incur a loss, and like the successes don't feel quite as high as they used to because like you've been there before in both instances.
Well, it's interesting. I think like I've never really personally been able to like accept success.
Why is that?
I think because I'm always on to the next thing. So like I never enjoy the moment when I'm like I would get all these promotions. Like I moved up pretty quickly. I was pretty young for my positions and stuff, but like I never really celebrated the jobs. I was just like, okay, now I'm doing the job. Okay, I'm started in it. Like I would already be like moving so fast. It's like I have one speed. It's like I just have to go quickly. But to that point, the losses, it like for sure, like the more you lose, the easier it is to lose.
Yeah.
Which I think like that's probably like that's I know this is the wrong advice, but I guess, but that's the good advice you can give someone is like losing is fantastic, and
I totally agree.
And it's so hard to actually like get there to be like it's okay to lose. Like
I like the idea that it's okay to talk about your losses,
Right.
Because I think so often people suffer in silence, like
Yes.
whether it's like personal stuff or work stuff or whatever, and like normalizing the fact that like, hey, I'm a human being, I made a fuck up, like I did this, I lost my job, I like, you know, all these things, my marriage failed, like all these things are so normal and repeated by millions of people on a daily basis, but like no one feels like there's like a space to discuss the fact that, hey, like I'm a human and I'm failing.
No, totally. Like when I was going through my divorce, I didn't tell anybody. Like I literally did not share it with anyone because
Why?
it was like because it was emotional. I didn't want to talk about it. Like
Yeah.
I even avoided like people. Like I'd avoid close friends. I avoided people like that lived in my building because like doorman and stuff because they would be like, oh, how is your wife or whatever,
Yeah.
and then like people ask the questions and I'm like I don't want to answer those questions. I just like I wasn't comfortable with it. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't tell my parents at first. Like
wow.
like she had moved out and I didn't tell my parents that I was even going through it. Like it was just like
Typical stoic man shit. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's funny, like flash forward to now, it's like the day that like they had laid a bunch of us off at work. I called like 20 people and I was like, oh, let them know and whatever. And it was really like eye opening how many people were like supportive from there and like how much different it felt too to like have a support system. And they would check in daily.
Yeah.
People would like message me like, hey, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Are you all right? Like, and it's like it's felt so much easier and so much better to actually have that support. Like,
I love that. I think that's a lesson learned and lost because, like, similarly, when I lost my job during the pandemic, I like didn't let anyone know because it was like this huge embarrassment to me. It was like,
Exactly.
wow, I failed on such an epic stage,
Yeah.
and so many people know, and there's all this shame involved, and like the failure and the shame combined to like not allow me to be like an authentic, true person and tell people like what I'm going through.
Right.
And I think in so many ways, that lesson of being able to like open myself up and be vulnerable has been transformative just in life, not just like work wise, but like just like, you know, on a personal level.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
being able to like tell people your shit and not feel fear for being judged is, I think, a superpower that if you can get to that point, it mostly takes time in life to like be able to feel open to do that. It can be transformative.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to be okay with failing, and I was never in my life okay with failing. I was like, I always wanted to be successful and come off. It's like for so long it mattered more to me that people viewed me as successful than me being successful.
Oh,
right?
damn.
So I had to get to a point where I was okay with being perceived as a failure, whether that was because it's like, yeah, obviously if I felt I failed, quote unquote, then like I am seeing myself that way, but I was not okay with others seeing me that way, right? So I had to get to a point where I was okay with the perception of failure that
How did you
people
get to
had.
that point?
I think it just happens.
Yeah, time, right?
I think like I think you have to get okay with the failure yourself, and it's part of it is it's truly like you have to realize it's not a failure, right? Like I think that's the most important part, which I think I'm still kind of struggling with at times, where it's like if I don't view it as a failure, then I don't really care. It's like I don't give a shit what other people view it as. Like you can view me as a failure or a success or whatever. That doesn't matter. It's how I view myself. And I think the moment that I started caring more about how I viewed myself than how other people viewed me, that changed a lot for me.
And what do you think was the impetus behind that?
I think it was I needed to. I think we all reached that somewhere in like our early 40s or whatever, where it's like that's why so many people have like that midlife crisis and like there's nervous breakdowns. Like Brene Brown's talked about it. Like a lot of people talk about where it's like you can kind of do this shit this way for so long, but then like the universe tells you at some point like doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're done. Like knock it off, kid.
Yeah.
And you can choose to fight the universe and not do that or whatever. But if you do, it's not going to work out well for you.
Totally agree.
So like it's like I fought it for so long, but then it was like you fight until you can't fight it anymore, and then you're like, okay, no, I'm gonna do this the right way, or I'm gonna fucking die. Like that's it. Like there's no other way around it. Right?
I think you said something crucially important that like you said other people's perception of you being successful was like impactful to you as to whether you felt successful.
Yeah.
Unpack that for me. I would love to get like sort of like some insight into that.
Yeah, it's like, are you familiar with the Enneagram?
The what?
An Enneagram. So it's sort of like Briggs-Myers or Myers-Briggs rather. It's like, or the Zodiac of like jobs, and like it's like you got like Zodiac, which is like your like relationships and stuff, and then you have like your Myers-Briggs, which is like the work side of it. Enneagram is sort of like the marriage of the two. That a lot of therapists use it and whatever. So everybody has like a profile on the Enneagram or whatever. Mine is the achiever, right? So the achiever is like your classic person that is like. So like Michael Jordan was an achiever, right? It's like people that are like, they're seen as successful, but like it's like the failure there is like that your ego with it is so strong. Like you have to be seen as a success more than being a success. It's more important. So like in that profile, it's like people who have the same profile as me tend to not put ourselves in situations where we can fail because we're so afraid of failure, right? So it's like if I'm like I won't try that because I'm not sure I'm going to succeed at it, right? Oh. So unless I have like full confidence and success in myself, I'm not going to go and do that.
What did that hold you back from in life?
I mean, well, I have an ego, so it's like nothing. I just nail it, man. I succeeded. But like, I don't. In general, like, I think I was lucky. Like, it's like those people. Like, I'm sure Michael Jordan being good at basketball, right? Like, he succeeded at that. He went to not play basketball. He tried baseball. Obviously, that didn't work out so well. But you know what I mean. He still was average for like the normal person, just not a professional. But like. I think I was, luckily enough, I was good at the things I wanted to do, right? So the things that I was passionate about when I was a kid, I was good at. The things that I didn't go out and try to do as much were things that...
took you outside that comfort zone?
Yeah, it took me out of the comfort zone a little bit, or they were things that people discouraged me in. Like, it took me a long time to, like, I play guitar, and like... You know, early on, people were like, "Oh, you're too old for that. Like, you can't really learn at that age." So, like, I wouldn't actually like go out and try to do it at that kind of level. So, I think there were certain things like that in my art that took a longer time to go. Same with like drawing. It was like at first, that wasn't how I got into the medium. So then, like, I came later into doing some of those things. But I didn't. It didn't stop me in that sense because it turned out I was pretty good at all those things. So yeah, it's it didn't really hold me back, but
it may have impacted your timing of it all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe it came to it a little later.
Okay. I mean, like I've fallen in love with everything super late in life, and I don't know if that's normal or average, right? Like obviously there's billions of people on Earth. I've fallen in love with art later in life. I've fallen in love with other people's art later in life. And like in my early 20s and youth, I don't know that I was necessarily drawn to photography or films the way that I am now, or music the way I am now, and the way I consume them being much more analog than necessarily is normal right now.
Sure.
My favorite thing in the world is to throw a record on and cook dinner. Yeah. And being intentional about what I'm listening to is been great for my creativity, and similarly how I've come towards photography from an intentional perspective. Sure. I'm selling a lot of my digital gear because I want to focus on shooting film because of the intention behind it.
Sure.
Also the idea that like when I die, something will still be here beyond like my cloud that will disappear.
Sure.
30 days after I die. I digress.
Stop paying.
Right. I just set up like a bank account with like a few $1,000s worth of cloud storage. I digress.
I think that's a business there. Like maybe we should do something with that.
Do
like,
that.
I feel like,
Beyond.com.
Yeah, exactly.
your cloud storage. That's a great idea, actually. Patent pending. But yeah, so I found that like later in life, I've stumbled into probably the great joys of my life with like photography and movies and photo books and those things. And I don't know if I had the creative outlet that I have now where I would be or what I would be doing. For you've had creative outlets your entire life, but it sounds like you're kind of entering into a new chapter.
Yeah.
I'm curious how with like this newfound freedom and this newfound opportunity in front of you, how you choose, which lane to go down. You obviously have a highway of opportunities in front of you. How do you decide where to go?
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to that. That's, if I did, I think I'd be driving down that highway at this moment.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's exciting about it. It's kind of like what I like is not knowing right now which way to go. It's like it's giving me the freedom to kind of go down this path where it's like I'm writing a screenplay right now. It's like I haven't worked on like a short film. I think it's been over 20 years since I've made a movie. Like I went to film school to make movies. I literally haven't done it in 20 years, but I'm almost done with a script, and I'm like, okay, I've got some free time. I'm going to shoot a script. Like, see where it goes. Does that mean I'm going to go be a filmmaker now? I don't know. Maybe, but probably not. I don't think that's the passion for it. I think it's just something I want to do right now, and it's maybe I'll want to do it again later and dabble in it. Do I want to go like sell my prints, like specifically make books, like gallery shows? Maybe. It's definitely enticing, the idea. I know what I don't want to do is find like a job or a person or something that defines me again, because I think that's something that I did in both relationship and a job for so long, that I was defined as a human being by a relationship with someone else and a job, right? And I think wherever my next step is, like, that's not it. Like,
sorry to interrupt you. That seems to me to sort of like be breaking through that like perception and achiever sort of, personality trait that you have.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
How hard is that? I would imagine it's difficult if it's like in yourself,
yeah, well,
right?
Then it's like the thing is like then you have to let people know who you are, right? Because if you're defined by someone else or something else, then nobody needs to truly know you, and they can't like not like you or abandon you or like anything like that. So if like you have that kind of fear of like, what if people don't actually like me for me, like because they like me for being the creative, the smart guy, like whatever it is. If they actually get to know the real me, then it's like, oh shit, if they don't like that, then like, oh man, that's a bummer.
That's super vulnerable.
Yeah. So.
I've only recently gotten to the point where like I've felt comfortable enough to like even tell my best friends the things that I'm going through, like anxiety, depression, those things, and like all of the like the normalcy of life that I think is like difficult for people to open up about, and being vulnerable enough to say like, hey, this is who I am. For a long time I would not say, hey, I'm a creative, I like to do these things, hey, I'm a photographer, hey, I have a podcast, hey, I do these things. Like forever I would just be like, I'm the sales director at this company, like this is what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then being able to be vulnerable enough to say who I am is
well that's just it. It's like if I ask you who you are and you say that you're the sales director of this company or whatever, it's like, no, that's not who you are, that's what you do. Like, that's what you do.
It took a really long time to open and break that mold. So much of what we do, especially in this country, is tied into what our perceived value is,
right? And
that is tied into our profession
generally.
I think the greatest thing that ever happened to me is losing my job in 2020, because that broke the mindset that I am not what I do. I am the actions of what I do.
Right.
I try to be a good person. I try to like live a positive life. It's not always great. It doesn't always work, but it's like that's what you try to do, right? You try to be a better version of yourself every day. Yeah.
One of the things I started doing was like, so my birthday's January 21st, just right.
It's my brother's birthday.
Oh, nice.
It's fucking crazy.
It's a great birthday.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's sort of right after the new year, but a little bit settled. And instead of like doing a New Year's resolution a couple of years ago, I started doing a birthday resolution, because I was like, it's more like when it's like, okay, I've turned, and I started that right when I turned 40. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I made it my like 40th birthday resolution was like, I'm no longer going to live my life for other people, I'm going to live it for me. And like, despite the fact that like on paper that sounds selfish, it's like, no, I'll be able to like give more to people if I'm living my life for me instead of for them or their perception of me.
I love that.
And then like the following year, my resolution was actually based on something David Bowie said, where it landed more in the creativity, where it was like, Bowie, to paraphrase him, basically he said like, to do something truly special, you have to push yourself to a point where you're uncomfortable. So it's like, imagine yourself going in water into the deep end and like get to that point where your feet can't touch the ground anymore. And that's when you can truly create something special. So it was like, how do I push myself artistically to a point where I can't touch the ground in the water anymore, like, and try to live in that space as often as possible. So it's like, you'll see it if like you look at my photography and stuff, like I try not to, like, most people kind of have like a very distinct look, and they always tell you that. They're like, get your style and stick in it. Same with musicians. They're like, it's like, I can hear his guitar every single time. And like, and they're just recreating the same thing. Like, I don't view it that way. Like, And that's like, I maybe it's a part of me that has to always be contrarian or a little different than everybody else. But it's like, no, it's like I'm a different person every day. I'm a different person like every minute of the day, right? Like we're not the same. So like, why would my work, if my work is truly a visualization of what I am feeling, which is how my photography is, like, I don't try to just take photos. Like, I make pictures that are based on what I see. So like, even my like edits after the fact are like, I might make the colors not look what they were in that space. I'm not just trying to represent how this moment looked to anyone who walks into the room. I'm trying to represent how I felt in that moment. Ooh. Right? And that's the same as like when I attach music if I'm posting on Instagram or whatever, it's like that music is supposed to be like how I was feeling either in that moment or now that I'm going back over that moment. Like every aspect of it is like, it's supposed to be like the feeling of it. I'm bleeding into the image, right? So that's also why I struggle with the idea of getting paid to like do that thing. Cause it's like, if you are putting everything of yourself into it and somebody's like, oh no, do it this way. I don't know how to put everything of myself and be like fully authentic. And then I'm not actually as good at it. Like I'm probably better than a lot of people that they could hire to do that still doing it for them. But it defeats the entire purpose of what I was trying to do with that, which was like speak in like when, because it's like as a kid, I wasn't comfortable expressing myself, right? So I expressed myself through those visuals, right? It's like, it's how I was feeling in that moment. Like, you can probably tell, like there was a period like right after my divorce where all my photos went black and white. And it's like, you can tell when a photographer's depressed. Like, it's like,
I was just going to say that's true though.
It's like, I'm so worried about Phil Penman. No, it's all black and white. So I think he's either horribly depressed or he's just like black and white. But,
I think he just shoots on a monochrome.
Yeah, I think he just shoots on a monochrome. So Phil's okay. But like, no, I mean, like, I think when people are like, it tends to be like you're in a darker, more somber
totally agree.
And you do some of that stuff.
I, for a while, thought I had to be depressed to make like a dark and moody photo, or I had to be happy to make like a bright and airy photo. Yeah. It took me a really long time to get to that mentality of not taking pictures, but making pictures. Yeah. I am just discovering this with myself like now.
That's cool.
Because for a while, I was so obsessed with the monetary aspect of being a working, successful, paying the bills photographer that I lost that mindset of making photographs. I was taking them and I was shooting hundreds or 1,000 pictures in a session and I was coming home and I was like, why the fuck did I do that? Yeah. Like I was just pressing the button. I was going through the motions. I was not creating. I was just taking. Yeah. And that switch has recently flipped it's completely flipped everything on my head because it's now I'm being extremely intentional about the things that I do and trying to be present in the moment. I find that to be the most difficult part. ADHD, whatever you want to do, is like being here and present while I'm creating and allow myself to make something versus take something.
Well, and I think that's really hard when you are making money doing it. Cause like I have so many friends in the photography business and they're like, and so many people are saying like, oh, now that you're like making a pivot in your career here, like, are you just going to go out and do the photography thing? And I'm like, whoa, I am trying to be very careful about that because photography is something that's really precious to me. It is an art. It is a way to deal with my mental health. And I don't want to not like taking photos. Like I can tell you, like I worked as a graphic designer, motion graphic artist for ESPN, ABC, like Disney for like 10 plus years, an art director there, and then creative director, like that was like 12, 13 years, like in just that period before I helped with the photography department as well. And I stopped making designs. Like I wasn't into it. Like people would ask me for things and like, it would be like, it felt like work. It didn't feel like art anymore. Yeah. And when I first got into it, it was art. I was really passionate about graphic design. It's come back to me now where I'm passionate about it again, but I had to pick up the camera and do something different to get that love for it again. And then I kind of like, that opened up all my interest in art. But I have so many photographer friends that like, don't bring a camera. Like I have a camera with me everywhere I go. Mm-hmm. They literally don't bring a camera. They don't like taking pictures. Like it's not fun for them because it's work to them. And like, I don't ever want it to be that. Like
there's like the big duality of like finding something that you love, because similarly I felt the same way, and then burning out on creating. And like the thing that I'm supposed to do that I love the most in the world that literally saved my life has at times felt like a job. Yeah. And in those moments, I don't think I could feel worse. Yeah. I don't think there's any feeling worse than feeling like this thing that's supposed to bring me the utmost joy is pulling from me.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when I was going through my divorce, like when I was doing that stuff, like I would be like, okay, I'm down. Like I'm not okay. I'm gonna grab the camera and I'm gonna go out and go for a walk and I'm gonna look through that lens and it's gonna be a different perspective than my perspective, and this is going to help me get out of what I'm feeling right now. Or I would go in and edit some photos that I had, like anything that would just like change my like visual perspective on something. If that's the thing that I'm trying to get past, like then I can't use that. So I've literally given up my medicine, right, in life, and I'm like, that's not like that's not okay to me. Like I would rather go work at a Starbucks than actually risk that. You know?
I think I had to learn that lesson recently because, like I said, I burned out towards the end of last year, just creatively and like, you know, with the desire to like do the job, like getting inquiries and being like, I don't want to do this. Like that's a weird feeling because it's like, well, I worked so hard for so long to get to a point where I can pay the bills doing this thing. And now it's just like feeling not great. And I think like now that I'm on the other side of that feeling and I've refined my creative process and the tools that I use to create, like it's been much better. When you go through some of these like big life moments, whether it's a divorce, whether it's losing your job, being able to have that outlet like photography, what has it done for your mental health and the ability to like go through these processes?
I mean, it keeps me going. Like that's I truly don't think I could do it without it. It's like I think it's so important because like it's literally like as I said, it's like I can look at the world through a different perspective because like right now in that moment, right, I am in a perspective that isn't working, right? Mm-hmm. So I need to change that perspective, and literally looking through a lens that has a different perspective from my own eye, I'm now seeing things differently. And like that's so powerful to just be able to look through that and look at something in a different light, right? Like you see the world in a different way, and like that's the start of getting through something. Like is looking at it differently than you're looking at it when you're looking at it from a perspective that's in a bad place. Like you need to turn that perspective to a good place. Like, okay, maybe this perspective isn't right. Maybe I need to throw on a 28mm lens instead of a 50. You know.
Do you think that changes?
No, I don't.
Okay, I was like,
I'm just kidding.
I was actually genuine because I was trying to.
That's a 50. That's that's. But sometimes I do carry around the 28. It's like it depends on the moment. I have way too many cameras, and they're all based on.
I'm starting to get through that stuff. Like I think in general, like I'm going through this like cleanse part of my life where it's like I don't need 50 t-shirts, I don't need 50 pairs of shoes, I don't need 50 cameras. Like this is the part of the life where I'm like I'm shedding like the things that don't serve me.
It's weird for me though because like every camera I have serves a different purpose to me, and it's like it's like I know it. Like if I'm like, okay, this is what I want to shoot, which camera I'm shooting it on immediately. Like I do not have a camera that I'm like, oh, I could use that one or this one. Like there's never a question to me of the cameras for a specific type.
So it's very tool-centric mindset.
It's exactly. It's like it's like I'm a carpenter and I use.
Well, I'm curious if that's like doing that just because you've had it in your life for so long, you know specifically. Because like for me, this is where I'm at right now and is struggling like which tools for which jobs for like which instances and like.
Yeah, I think like it's like to be like fair. I could use any of the cameras for any of the jobs and get the job done. You do not need more than one camera. Yeah. I don't want to imply that that's not the case. Yeah. But if you're fortunate enough to have different cameras for different jobs, there are certain things that different cameras are better at. Mm-hmm. So it's like when I'm shooting in a studio, I shoot with a different camera than if I'm shooting on the street. Like it's just like a medium format is better in a studio and like it could be good for architecture or something if you're doing something really slow on the street, but it's also bigger, it's heavier, right?
I shoot Hasselblad on the street.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. You certainly can.
For my film. Yeah. What? I stole that from Lynette Blanche. I don't know if you know that. She's a really talented New York City photographer. For sure. And it's been the best thing I've ever... Like,
I mean, Rolleiflex was a big thing for the street. Totally. Yeah. It certainly is a way to go about it, but you have to go slowly then. Yeah, right? So it's like...
But I like it because like I'm just so like hyper ADHD. Like this is like... For sure. We got to bang this out. We got to go. Yeah. That like that extra step to slow down, compose, and shoot has been really, really beneficial.
For sure. Well, that's the M camera is like I do that with like, but I also have a Q, and when I go on the Q, it's a much quicker experience. Like, I can throw that on auto if I want for the focus, or I can manual focus. Like it's just a
so my favorite camera is absolutely the Q3. I bought it probably like a year ago, or whenever it came out, 6-8 months ago, whatever that was. My struggle with that right now, and it's just like this mentality of shedding and like getting rid of things, like it sits on my desk a lot. Okay. And like I have a hard time with like creative tools gathering dust.
Sure.
And I don't know if you can relate since you have so many cameras, so I'm curious.
I can't. I use every one of them. And the Q3 was actually the camera that got me back into this. That was the first camera I bought. I bought it the day it came out.
Nice.
When it was like, they were possible to get. I was following Greg Williams on Instagram, and he was like, I have 5 of them.
Yeah.
And he's like, he puts it up, and he's like, they're for sale on my website, first 5 that get it. And I happened to be looking at that moment because I was off from work, and I was like, done. And I bought it, and then that started the whole thing of gear acquisition, and now too many Hasselblads and Leicas and all that.
I know it.
But no, it's like the Q3 to me is like, okay, it's raining, it's weather sealed, right? If I'm going into an event and I want a 28 millimeter, because that's like 28 is perfect in an event. Like 50 is too close, like especially with a meter focus. Like I'm going to be closer than 3 feet on people. Like I'm not going to keep them in focus.
Yeah.
So the Q3 is obviously in those instances I'm doing it. When it rains, that's the camera I bring around with me. If it's not raining and I'm not going to be in a tight space, the M with the 50 is my daily carry. Or I have an M6 that'll be if I want to shoot film in that. Right. The M6 is the one that probably gathers the most dust, but like that I'm okay with because it's like that's when I'm choosing to shoot film. Like, but then like studio, it's my Hasselblads, right? I have 2 Hasselblads there that I'll shoot in the studio. I use 2 because I don't like to change lenses. And I have two different ones. Yeah. Well, it stops me in the moment, like to think about it. And it's like if I think
what are the 2 focal lengths that you shoot on?
So in general, I'm doing a 25 medium format. So that's about
45?
17 conversion. No, it's about 17.
25.
Yeah,
right.
And then the other one is an 80. So that's about
55.
Yeah, it's like I think it's around 60. So it's both, but they're also 100 megapixel cameras. So like you can zoom in.
Do you have the 907X?
Yeah, and the X2D.
So then I have an affinity for the 907X.
And then the other one is I have an X1D2 that I converted to full spectrum that I shoot infrared photography with.
Whoa.
And that I do take outdoors. So that I'll do obviously in the park and stuff. And then I do the full.
It's like very aerochrome-like?
Yeah, so you can do aerochrome, but you can also do like, my favorite is candy chrome, which is a Kalari filter that it just gives this like magical Tim Burton world. And the cool thing about the X2D2 is you can also shoot video on it. So you can do like so I got infrared video. I have an underwater housing for that camera too. So I can actually like take it underwater with that.
That's fucking wild.
So but it's like, that's the point. It's like, okay, I want to shoot underwater. I'm going to use that camera. I'm going to shoot infrared. I'm going to use that camera. If I'm going to go in the studio, I'm using one of these. Now the 907X is like, I want to attach it to my old Hasselblad 500. I can do that with it. So like then I'm using a film look on there. The Leicas all have an experience. The SL3 is when I want to shoot video too. Like that's you need that. I would say the SL3 is probably the one that at this moment, because I have the Hasselblads, has. If it wasn't for the video aspect, it wouldn't have as much of a purpose for me. But I'm going to shoot a film on it. So
yeah, no, I relate. I mean, any photographer who's listening to this who doesn't have a daily or weekly chat with a photographer friend about their gear and what they have, either want to buy or need to get rid of to then pay for something else, is lying. And
actually, right now I feel I have everything I need.
I'm just listed like 10 of the best cameras on the market. So exactly. I understand. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
I'm sad. I don't totally.
Obviously, if for at any point you think you have a camera problem, call me. I'll talk you off that ledge. There's nothing that comes out in the next 3 years needs to be added to
I'm okay.
Yeah, you're good. It's funny though, because like you come from a place of like very tool specific usages, and I just can't relate to that, although I am trying to get to that point. And it's one of those things where it's like I've only now in the last call it like 2 or 3 months come to the intention of using specific cameras and formats for specific things. How did you like envelop that process into your own workflow? And like, was it very early on? Or
so it was as I got more comfortable with each of the cameras. So you kind of have to take. It's like Ralph Gibson talks about that with his lenses, right? Where he's like he uses a lens for like years and years, and he's like, you need to like fully understand that lens.
Yeah,
like. I have certain lenses for certain cameras that I use on there, and then I keep them on it. I'm not a change my lens guy. Like, once it's on and I take it out, I do not change my lens.
I relate unless,
to that. Like, there has to be a very good reason. Otherwise, it's like, that is the lens I'm shooting with here. Everything is for a purpose. It's like, what am I doing? But that came to me like it didn't come from photography. Was like ingrained in me from like that young age of filmmaking, because it's like, it's Quentin Tarantino, it's David Mamet, it's like writing scripts. Every line of dialogue is furthering that story. And as a photographer, it's like I'm telling a story in each of my photos. Like I'm really just I'm not a photographer, I'm a visual storyteller. And like, what do I need to tell that story? Like, which camera is the best? Which lens is the best? Which lights are telling my story? Like, every single thing should be there for a purpose. It's a thing I like that drives me crazy looking at photographs from some other people sometimes, or like when they just like throw a light in there, like do this, and it's like I mean, cool, do you like have fun? Like I don't like, but it's like it's just not me. It doesn't feel authentic. Where it's like you're not like I am creating that story there, and it's like so it's like it's weird to me when somebody isn't, because it's not unnatural, but like that's not saying it's bad. It's
no,
like,
no, no, yeah. I think different strokes, different
Totally.
folks. How do you develop your authenticity through photography? How do you develop your sense of self through your pictures?
I think you just have to bleed in the photo. Like that's what it is. It's like every single photo is me. It's not like it's where like I really don't like sometimes I'll be working with a model or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, I want to recreate this photo, and I'm like, do you want to recreate that photo, or do you want like the essence of what's going on here?
Yeah,
right? Like,
totally.
And it's like, what about this photo speaks to you, right? And then I'll try to do something that is what they're looking for that I still want to create. Because like, I don't want to just shoot somebody else's photo. Like I could do it. I can read that and be like, okay, that's where they put the lights. That's the basic focal length. This is how they set it up. Like that's easy.
Yeah.
But then I'm just a technician. I'm not actually a photographer or an artist, right? And it's one of the things that's fascinating about photography is like it's one of the only like art fields that people actually can be, maybe it's the only art field that people can become successful in without being really an artist, right? You can just snap photos and be good at snapping like and like actually like form success. I don't think that works in like painting or drawing or music, right? Like you have to actually have like the talent in those fields to become successful. Because like everyone can obviously say in any art field, like, yeah, everybody can try to be an artist, but like you have to have some talent or whatever. Photography is this weird, different medium where like everybody takes photos, especially now with phones and everything. It's gone to another level, but everybody always took photos. They had like their disposable cameras and stuff, like, but not everybody was an artist. At some point along the way, though, like people with disposable cameras that were just snapping photos, like they would hit that one shot. It's like what you say, like a broken clock's right twice a day, right? Like if you hand somebody who has no photography skills at all and they just take like 10,000 pictures, like one of them, two of them, a bunch of them are going to end up great because the moment was great and they captured a moment, right? Because photography has that kind of two things. It's like either I can make people feel what I'm feeling as a photographer behind the lens, or the moment is making them feel something, right?
Ooh, I like that.
The authenticity part for me is I don't ever capture a moment. Like I'm not ever snapping a picture. I don't go to a sporting event. I don't go to events and shoot them. It's letting people feel what I am feeling through that photo. So like I am trying to make people feel in every single photo I take. Might not always be successful at it, but like I'm trying to do that. That's like my purpose. So, well, my purpose, I'm sorry, isn't to make other people feel. It's to express my feelings. And then if they happen to get the feeling, then great or not. I could give a shit if somebody actually feels anything off my personal photo, because I'm really only taking it for me.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the authenticity comes out. It's like I am taking that photo with a feeling, with a purpose or whatever. It's not just capturing a moment there, right? It's not like getting it. I see two people doing something and I'm like, if there's 10 photographers here and there's like two people that like kiss over there, they might be like, oh, let's get that to grab it. And I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like what's happening over there? I want to see like what makes me feel in this moment, not how do I catch their feeling? Like I'm not chasing photographs. I'm making photographs.
Them. Yeah. I mean, I fuck with that mindset a lot. I think that's something that I'm trying to get to the bottom of in my own creativity, in my own art. And like this idea, like the perception of like, I am a photographer and like, am I an artist? Sometimes I think yes. And sometimes I think no. And like being able to be honest about something that I create and what my feelings are for it, because like what I like is totally different than what you like or someone else might like. And then having the ability to still go out and create something for myself and know that like, regardless of what other people say, like I'm happy with it.
Right.
That's hard to find. Sounds like you have that.
I truly don't care what anyone thinks about any of my photos. It's fascinating to me. It's like sometimes like I'll be like I have like the photo that I think is the best on something, and I'm like, this is like my favorite. This is the best thing, and then somebody else likes one that I'm like, that I don't particularly love, and I'm like, and they're like, that's your best photo ever, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It is to you, like, and that's great. But like it's also one of those things like a lot of times people like friends will ask me like, oh, what were you thinking behind that? And I'm like, doesn't matter. Like, yes, I was thinking, I was feeling something. Every single photo, I could tell you my whole story, but that's not what's important to you as a viewer. It's like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Because like, as artists, like films, songs, photographs, like any piece of art is about your personal experience with it. All the things that you brought up to this moment that made you feel that as you're looking at it. Like, I don't care what Richard Avedon was thinking when he took a photo, or Helmut Newton or whatever. Like, it's about how I feel when I look at that photo.
I totally agree with that, and that's why photography, art in general, is so subjective, right? Because you and I can look at the same thing and have totally wildly different feelings and opinions on it, and I think that's what is partly the beauty of it.
And I don't want to know what the photographer was thinking. Like,
I'm not interested
it's
in
about
that.
what I feel, and like, it's like, and as a photographer, it's like where. Like, people have asked me that when they look at the stuff, and I'm like, I would rather hear what you think when you're like, I'm more just interested in like the human aspect of it, of like, what are you feeling and why do you feel that? Like, I don't want to tell you what I was feeling, so then you can think about that and get into my head or whatever. This isn't a psychological experience. Like,
your personal subjection to it. Yeah, I agree with that. This idea of success is super important to me, and to getting to the idea of like how I measure success in my creative life versus like business life versus podcast versus like everything else I do is difficult, because like I don't know how to measure my own success creatively.
Sure.
Is it getting better? Like, I know every day I step into the studio, I'm a better photographer for having this place and being here. That doesn't necessarily key into the bank account. That is typically how most people measure success.
Why is that success?
Well, so I'm curious, in your own art and your own creation, how do you measure success?
It's happiness, I think. I think just in life in general, that's how I now measure success. I wouldn't say I always did. But yeah, no, I don't. I don't. The money doesn't matter at all, I don't think. Obviously, money matters in life, and you need it to survive, yada, yada, yada. But no, I mean, like, if you're making a ton of money off your photographs and then you're not happy making them, is that successful to you?
No. But everyone else would think you're super successful. Because the perception is you're a commercially successful photographer.
But like, how many great photographers, great quote unquote, that like, you'll see that their work doesn't grow. It's like they hit something. It's like same as musicians, and then they do the same thing over and over. And it's like, it's very rare that you have the photographer doing the same thing that like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or like the Beastie Boys, like bands that like listen to their albums and they're completely different. It's like, this is a completely different experience, album to album, even song to song on some of them, right? Where like reinventing themselves, like,
which is inherently human.
And that's exactly what I try to do with photography. And like, for me, it's like having the different cameras does that too, because it's like, okay, I'm going to take this camera out today. I shot with the Hasselblads yesterday, and now like I am shooting differently because by nature the camera works differently. I'm using a different lens. This is full frame. That was medium format. I'm in a different setting. Like, I have to be different. There's no way not to be, right? I use an infrared camera with a filter on it. Like, it's going to look different, right? And I'm going to frame it differently. I'm going to think differently. So it just like, it changes the functionality of my brain. Like the neurons of my brain are going to fire differently by using these different tools. So I can never then get stuck in a rut with it. It's like, okay, I'm not feeling as creative. Okay, now I'm going to use this thing because this is going to drive me to creativity, whether that's film or infrared or medium format or full, like whatever it is. It's always changing, so I never get stuck.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I think it's funny when like conversations in life happen when you need to hear them, because like this is very much stuff that I needed to hear today. I always say, like, on these podcasts, I just fucking steal like their therapy sessions, because sometimes like over the last few months, I've had a really hard time locking in creatively like the joy that I had when I initially started doing this like 4 or 5 years ago, and only now do I feel like I've turned the corner and I'm starting to like create with the intent of making photos and create with the joy that I originally had with the very first time I picked up a camera. I think it's totally normal to go through like phases of your life where you're like very much in love with what you do and very much, not in love. And it's about getting through those mountains and hurdles of like what is happening in your personal life and your working life and whatever, and not let it impact the work, which is something that I've been struggling with. But
Well, it was like, a couple years ago, I started literally, I think it was June 1st or June 2nd, like 2 years ago, right around when my divorce was had begun, right when I got the Q3, and I was like, I challenged myself to like, I'm going to make a photo every day. Now, it didn't necessarily mean I'm going to take the picture every day. Like some of it was like, okay, I'm going to go through these and figure out my edits and actually create. So whether I'm creating in post-production of something I did the day before or actually going out and physically shooting that photo that day I didn't constrain myself that far where I'm like, this is a terrible day out. And I'm like, I'm not going to force myself to take a photo that I don't want to take. Right. But I was like, I am going to push myself to every single day have a photo that I think is up to my standard to post it on Instagram and make a photo every day. So that way I'm forcing myself to make that photo. And I was like, I'm going to do this for a couple months or whatever. And then it became like, oh, a year will be cool. I'll do this for a year. And now I'm basically 2 years into it. I haven't stopped and I have no plan to stop. But by doing that every single day, it's kept me driven to keep going. Right. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it for the rest of my life.
Listen, I fucking love that. I've found I have like a varying love-hate relationship with social media and the sharing of my work. For a long time, like everything that I was doing was wrapped up into like how many likes I had, how many followers I would get. Thank God I broke that cycle mentally because it was like just a life suck for me. Like if I got a mean comment or if I didn't get a certain number of likes or like I didn't get enough views on something, it just like totally wrecked my mindset. And thank God that I've matured beyond that. But it's nice to have that kind of a healthy relationship with something that's
it's like in my case it's not driven by like I have to post it to Instagram. I have that's just like that by saying I'm going to post it somewhere, it makes it like, okay, I'll actually do it. Because otherwise it's like, there's no proof. I can just tell you I did do a photo every day and you could be like, yeah, let me see it. And I'll be like, nah, it's here. It's in my life. Like, now you can actually literally go, oh, wow, he actually is. Like, that one's not as good as that one. Like there's some like accountability to it. I use social media for accountability. That's really it. I don't actually like actively use it all that much. I'll learn it's more of a chat device for me than anything. But
listen, I like that mindset a lot. I think I'm going to try to steal that because like using it as an accountability tool to share my work, to keep producing more work is great because like I have months and months of backlogs of photo shoots that I just like don't share the stuff because like my relationship has like been strained with it. And I think using that as an accountability tool could be really, really helpful. I like that idea a lot. That's pretty great. Listen, Andrew, I can go on and be effusive of like what this conversation has done for me personally. I'll just say I have a very cheesy line. If you've been on my podcast, you're part of my family, and I really appreciate you coming on today and being a guest. And I can't wait to see what this next chapter of your life holds for you. And thanks again for coming on.
No, of course. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks, man.